So the Gyan has been underplayed, the logic, the intellect, everything that is natural. Throughout my videos, you'll notice that there has been a strange ploy towards consolation. We have built a world where we are just trying to console each other, not really leading people to the tapasya it takes to really come upon the truth. The reality is not just the fundamental, the ultimate reality, but reality of anything. Or perhaps the narrative originally may have been about expression of what is love and why it is important. Because once you get to that ultimate reality, you get into ultimate realization of the reality of life. You start understanding that harmony is the only way. You have to help waves get untangled. And in a state of contraction, the untangling will not happen. You have to keep stretching it out, expanding it, expanding your life energy. And only in love can you give the environment to the other to expand. However, the other is not required to give love to any. One is self-sufficient to experience this love all around them. Meaning, very simply, willing at the core, having the intention for the other to grow. Never ever for a moment hoping for the negative for outcome for the person, because it's the same waves. You are entangled with two very subtly. So if you're not enabling the other person to be free, to expand themselves, then that's not love. Don't entangle them, free them. That's love. And it is the greatest melody. Allah enable them to find the melody that they are harmonious to. So the greatest melody they find in their life, let them head in that direction. That's love. So once you realize through Gyan, you recognize, you come to the same realization that there is something else fundamental to consciousness, that it keeps moving waves towards harmony, because there are a lot of points of non-matter, nothing in the entire universe, and the nothing is conscious. We're tapping into nothing when we are giving a birth to a new idea. There is something called absolute total originality. And if it wasn't so, then we also underplay innovation, the importance of innovation. Or we end up saying that there's nothing original in the world. We're only composing the old, recomposing the old, structuring it. But it's really unnecessary. That's not true. When you tap from nothing, that pure silence, That's why geniuses or great inventions require that solitude or isolation, so they could tap into that purity, that stillness, and create original waveforms that are not entangled with the past. Yet they will come and touch upon the waves of the past too, of the creations that they were in past, but they were created with such intensity that they still remain. They've taken shapes and forms. They have gotten nurtured by many other lives of many other beings and have taken some shape, some form. But there are also things that are truly, totally original. Every experience that you have about some new product, which was not there in the same way earlier, the newness, the first time somebody gets to feel something that never existed, that newness is that new wave. If you feel that newness about something, about your own innovation, invention, that's your sign that you did give birth to something, some new atom. Say, for those who don't understand atom, some new wave. Solid enough to take a form. Of atoms. So anyway, when you get to this realm, you recognize that consciousness fundamentally wants to have an easy and smooth wave, not a wave that fights with each other, crashes into each other. Because ask your consciousness, what is the experience of a crash of two waves? Yeah, that's a wave, that tree, and I go crash into it. But I go play around it, never crash into it, move along with it. The more easy it becomes, effortless. That's love. So you can come to this way of life through love too. And that is why it wasn't about consolation, maybe it was about love. And then one wondered, or not, did not matter. for even after wondering, the final conclusion is that you don't want to create friction. You want to take people from whatever rhythm they are in into something which has lesser friction, perhaps no friction. And then the consciousness is or has done what is there for. It is therefore to see, it created its opposite to know. At that time, it was the only thing that was there, so itself, to know itself. But now there is a wave, and the consciousness, your consciousness, is pointed on that wave. Not itself anymore. And that wave is crashing into the waves around. Now it doesn't want to crash. So it tries not to crash. Now the way to not to crash is to either know or to just be in a natural harmony with whatever it is. Allow it to grow, whatever it is. Give it space, give it freedom. Perhaps then it's difficult for me to say that for a being that does not really understands a being that is no more in some mystical belief realm, but really understands Allah, God, Bhagwan in its bhav, because it's impossible to get yourself around in totality at the micro level of things. Because there is non-matter everywhere, there will be, and all non-matter is conscious. It's the non-matter that's conscious. So I'm saying that if there is this dead tree in front of me, or those coconut shells, or my isolated personal spot in the farm, whenever I want to totally isolate myself from the activities of the farm and yet be on my laptop, then that's my spot, that's my laptop room and my laptop desk. And when I'm not here, there is no life here or inside the tent. Because the matter itself is not conscious. It is the non-matter that has engulfed the matter which is conscious, and it is having that experience of the wave of that matter. It's just there. I mean, there is this non-matter engulfing all the matter, and this non-matter has impressions of this wave upon it. And for it to interact with this matter, it needs a more easy, ethereal wave, which is human life. The wave at the end of a ripple, not in the beginnings of the ripple. The end points of the ripple are flat, closer to the point or the ethereal akashic realm of stillness, the flatter wave, the being, the human. So this is how the non-matter is interacting with the matter. So you, the human being, are that part of non-matter which is engulfing a certain composition of matter, and it has the choice of not being engulfed by that matter, not engulfing that matter. It has a choice of not engulfing the matter, going to the core of the ocean. Because you see, that which is consciousness, which is enabling you to put your dhyan on something, can also enable you to take away your dhyan from something or everything. Allowing the waves to go by. Because you'll notice it is only you, the human being, that is in friction. Day by day, every day. Unlike animals that are in state of friction for shorter moments. That is because we have the freedom, that is because we are that flatter wave form, which is closer to the form of origin, the non-matter upon which all impressions are laid, of all waves in the universe. But then, the flatter wave happens. And the flatter wave gets the opportunity to be able to compare from a wider perspective, because it is seated on something wider. It goes to sleep, then it wakes up, it goes to sleep, then it wakes up. It goes to sleep is cleansing. So it doesn't get engulfed by virtue of that sleep, that pointing itself to something else becomes possible, for it has an ability to not engulf, like the consciousness around these objects, Or like, do you see that cottage? When I don't live here, at the remote end of the farm, I am in that cottage. Now, there are ethereal waves of mine that are there. Because it's the environment that I'm altering by having a conscious experience of this against that. And because I was engulfed in a wave, which is now flatter, I'm more in touch with my origin. Every human being is such. And our origin has the power to create newer waves, to alter the waves around you so that there is lesser friction. Or it has the choice of allowing the consciousness as is to do its part, and in that to use you as a tool too. You know, if you understand what I'm saying, the confusions about spirituality and the outcomes would start reducing. There's potential for it to completely vanish. I invite you to ask me questions. I am allowing whatever the consciousness wants to do through me to create more harmony, while being totally aware that the harmony is in the now, while being totally aware that even the desire for harmony needs to go away. Because when we have a desire for something we say is harmony or is freedom, we're again living in pursuit of something that's in the future, and we have not allowed the present to play itself upon me. You see, I said that non-matter is engulfing that tent or a rock. Anything, even non-living, is engulfed by that non-matter. But the non-matter cannot move it because it's a really concentrated wave. It only has this impression of it, you know. It does not have the indriya to interact with it. It is having the impression of each particular movement as is, and for it to make meaning out of these particular atomic movements, it has to give this current some desktop icons. How else would it interact with that realm of information and feedback mechanism? Isn't life so? So the icon, the graphical user interface, is how we see reality. Otherwise, just like computer without a graphical user interface, without that way of you looking at folders and icons on a desktop, it would have not made meaning to you. So much information. What would you do? So then the beings of Indriya, humans, animals, they move things around. But when we are not in realization that there's something that's functioning by itself, I am convinced that if our body is extremely intelligent, if we are not told anything, we could still survive in a jungle. We need to be protected till we have strength to move, to compare, to make sense of the icons in front of us. And all those icons have occurred. Those waves have occurred. We are seeing them as icons, but they are waves. All in front of me. These are icons, but they are also waves. They're in reality waves. At the fundamental waves of non-matter. My previous videos would throw more clarity on this subject of waves of non-matter. So when we allow those waves to move, they really don't clash. And now we are in touch, the human beings occur and are in touch with the non-matter. And now they are creating newer waves. These newer waves can also be melodious to the flow of consciousness, the universe. You know, the all-encompassing consciousness. We can create waves that are in harmony with this consciousness, or we can create waves that are going to clash with the waves of consciousness. Just like consciousness can create waves, human beings can create waves too. Of course, not of the impact of consciousness, of the total universe. But whatever is our expanse of our reach in the universe is what we are conscious of. That's what our conscious experience is made of. This conscious experience has an add-on. It's not a particular experience of just fractals and colors, of infinitely harmonious and complex fractal geometry. Here, there are indriyas to interact. And it happens by virtue of just the original waves of the universe's movement, the non-matter's movement, now reaching that point where they are at a frequency which is the form of a human being, which is in the form of a human being. Free and flatter. That's how human wave is. If you like swimming, I'll talk to you later. Bye.